Welcome to Tuesday Night Television on Access. You are watching The Scene from Saline. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Harrison, and today we're going to dive into a few hot topics such as the passing of the school bond issue. Did a no vote mean that you hate children and teachers? Does a yes vote mean that you're not fiscally responsible? We'll also sit a spell with Paul Green. He's the media production manager from Kansas Wesleyan University. So run, call a friend, get your popcorn and a cold drink. The Scene from Saline explodes on TNT Access right now. Hello everyone, this is The Scene again. I'm Jeff. This wonderful woman right here is Shauna. That dapper dressed man over there is Charles. Today we're going to talk about the school bond issue right off the top. And before we get into the discussion, I've got a few numbers here because, as they like to say, numbers don't lie. So the first one is we've got, it was $110 million for 20 years. That's kind of like hitting the lotto, isn't it? Basically, they wanted us to pay like they had won the lottery. So we've got the lottery passed and the school bond issue is passed. It's going to break down to about $3 million per grade schools. And I can tell you, I've been in some of those grade schools. There's a couple of them that need that $3 million. I'm not going to name any of them specifically. Sunset. And then there's $46 million that's going to Saline South. Charles and I graduated from there.
Yeah.
You did too?
I did as well.
So all three of us know that if there was one thing that needed to happen, those pods needed to be destructed, right?
Well, I can tell you this, Jeff. I've been in the pods when the retarring was going on, and it was a very, very bad situation. So I hope they go away and something better gets built.
And who was it? Who was it? Maybe, Charles, you know this. You've been in the business community here for a while. What engineer thought that having classrooms separated by partitions with no windows was conducive to learning?
And I have no idea. I have no idea. Totally. It totally amazes me. But you know the one thing about that school, it's probably been needing some help for a long time, and now that's going to get it. But not that I really want to pay the taxes or fund that, but I guess we don't have any other choice.
True. It did pass. It was about 8 million, I'm sorry.
There you go.
8,000 votes.
Wow.
I got so
Our
caught up in the
population's
millions. Caught up in the millions. It was about 8,000 votes for yes. There was 5,000 no. So the way it breaks down as far as money goes, if you have a $150,000 house, it's about an extra $81 or $279 combined on to the bond that they had from the last time they passed in 1998. Folks like you, Shauna, who live in those wonderful $300,000 homes, it's $162 extra or $559 a month. So that's what you get. That's what you get for living in a good house.
Well, you know, not that I live in such a good house, Jeff.
I've been there.
I like my house, and I'm happy to be in the house I'm in. But the one thing that does bother me about this whole issue is that we didn't pay off the previous loan before we're taking out another one. So I hope that all of this doesn't capital flow into another bond issue down the road, and where we have to do something in addition to what we're already doing, and I hope that it all works out the way that they think it's going to.
And then the other thing, guess what? You just made it so they got to buy a smaller house because they got to pay cheaper taxes. So that kind of hurts the real estate market a little bit.
That is true.
Something near and dear to someone's hearts is sitting up here, huh?
Well, before this gets all going, you better get out there and sell some houses.
I'm going to do that. I'm
All
actually
right.
doing that.
Well, I'm assuming that I'm the only one who voted yes on that. I'm just going to go out here. I'll go out on a limb. And I did vote yes. I'll just go. And let me tell you why I did. Here was before you start throwing the rocks, because I see both of you looking at it. Here's my thought process every time. I would rather, and I understand that it doesn't really flow like this 100%, but I'd rather pay money for a school than pay money for prisons. So, and you're probably wondering, well, how do you get from school to prison? Well, I figure, you know, if you have good schools, good learning environment, more people, not all, but more people have a better chance at an education to where maybe then they won't want to come and rob the rest of us who work. Do y'all kind of go with that logic, or was it just flawed? And
I don't go with it.
you don't like that at all?
I'm actually a volunteer at the prison, but some of that, I think, a lot of that is parenthood. I mean, the single parent thing, the mother not being able to control her son, or your dad's out there doing this or doing that, and the son or the daughter. And I voted yes too, but I always got.
So you just wanted to get me to stink eye? Is that what that was?
You know, well, when you think about it, anything that helps the children, and that's the way I look at it, and that's going to help the children. I'm fine with it. But I still like to be on the offensive to make sure that everybody's aware of what's really going on.
Right.
So.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, a lady never tells her age, and also never how she votes.
Now she votes. You know, I remember back in the day, people didn't talk about politics at all. Nobody would talk about who they voted for, whether they were Republican or not, all that. I think talk radio kind of squashed all of that now. Now everybody likes to say what they voted for or whatever. So it's pretty interesting you're kind of keeping that close to the vest. But that's fine too. That's fine too.
Well, sometimes you just have to have a few secrets.
You have to have secrets. It's a lady's prerogative to have secrets.
So, did anybody watch the awards show last night?
I did not watch the awards show. And what we're going to go ahead and do, we'll hit that awards show as soon as we get back. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you from the scene. We're back. It's the scene from Saline. And Shauna, you were talking about the award show last night. I missed that award show. What award show were you talking about?
That was the Country Music Awards show, and as I was sitting there watching it, I was all of a sudden thinking to myself, why am I watching this show? It seems like there are just so many award shows on TV anymore. It's just getting inundated. There are over 50 different kinds of award shows, and I don't know what makes us want to watch these, or do you guys ever watch them? I find myself compelled to watch them for some reason. I don't know if it's because I like to see what everybody's wearing, or I don't think it's even because I care who wins. But it's very interesting, I think, that we have so many, and I just wonder why. Why do we need all of these award shows?
How many country music award shows have there been?
You mean different ones?
I mean, like the country music, it was like the 25th annual or the 45th
Oh, see, I watched the whole show and I don't even know which one it was.
So they paid all that money for that beautiful logo and you don't even remember that.
I don't
Well,
really
there's
remember
so many of them. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you got them going at you all the time. So
Exactly.
that's kind of amazing. I mean, I'm not really an award show watcher, but just hearing the statistics, you know, like there's that many. I'm like, wow, don't they got something else they could show? And then you wanted an award, so we would have to have another award show for you.
Before we came on, we were talking about this, and I said there's 50 award shows, and somehow I have never won an award. So now there's going to have to be 51 because I'm winning something. I don't know what it is, the best tennis shoes, I don't know, shiniest bald head, I'm winning something. I mean, it just can't be. And I've missed, I have to admit, and I'm not really a country music award fan, so I've missed all of them. I don't know how many there have been, whether it's 40 or 50. I haven't seen one of those.
Well, I don't, like I said, I don't
twerking?
even,
Do they twerk on the country
no,
music?
they don't twerk there. They, you know, they stay pretty good to the straight and narrow on the country shows, I think.
Well, I've heard some stories about the country stampede.
Well, now that's a different thing.
Whoa.
Totally different thing.
They would give an award in that one.
No. There might be an award for the person who's maybe the most drunk. I don't know. It's a lot of people there doing that kind of thing. But no, I mean, I don't watch the award shows, all of them. But it just seems like every time you turn around, there's one on TV, and I just wondered why I feel compelled to watch these shows. I don't know if it's because like I said, I like the clothing, I like to see the dresses, the hairstyles, whatever. It's not so much about the actual winning of the award or who's actually wins. It's more about just the ambiance of the show, I think. But I think we have too many. Maybe we could just do one a month instead of 5.
What are some of the other 50? Because I thought there was just like the Grammys and the Emmys and the Tonys.
Oh, no. No. January alone, there are about 12 award shows, anywhere from gospel singing to People's Choice, Grammy Awards.
Okay.
NASCAR has an award show.
NASCAR.
Absolutely. And then you get into February and you're on to the Hall of Games, and there's even some
Hall of Games.
Hall of Games.
Like game shows? Or
it's on the Cartoon Network.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
The BET honors are in February.
BET, yeah.
Yeah. And then you know, there's several each month. You get into June and you've got your Tony Awards and your Critics' Choice and your CMT.
What month do they have the ESPYs on?
Oh gosh,
I know
let's
that's
see.
it.
Yeah, I know that.
That's in July.
I've actually watched the ESPYs a couple of times.
Yeah, that's July. That's July. You know, and then the kids Choice Awards, and I mean, there's an award for just about everything you do out there. It sounds like in you know, in music, in television, or whatever. So, do we need them? Not sure.
Well, we do need them if Jeff's going to get one.
Well, yeah.
We need one more.
One more.
For sure. That's for sure.
I say we do one more and then we call it quits.
And then after that, that's it. Boom,
Yeah.
we're out.
After that.
That's the end of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of being out, we're going to be out here in a second. Going to be back. Got a controversial topic we're going to touch on next. Don't go anywhere. It's about ready to get good.
Oh my
The
goodness.
scene.
And the rock concert is way over head heels.
We'll be back with more news later.
No, we won't. We're still going, lady.
Welcome back to the scene. We're going to leave Jeff's controversy for next week sometime. And I'm here, this is Charles Ross, and I'm here with Paul Green.
Yes, it.
And I would like to know, Paul, how did you get started as a production manager at Kansas Wesleyan?
Boy, that's been kind of an interesting trip to take. I was actually working here at Community Access TV. I was the volunteer training coordinator and later the production director. The university got in touch with me when they decided they were interested in building a digital production facility. And the person that had done their current bid had handed them an estimate of around $300,000. Now, at the time, TV equipment took up an entire room. You had racks of mounted equipment to work with. And I had been keeping track while I was working here at Access of really the latest in digital production. And that meant a lot less equipment. It was not as fussy and not nearly as expensive as traditional television equipment actually was. So I put together an estimate for them that was about 20% of the original cost, and built them their digital production studio up at Sam's Hall of Fine Arts. And then once I was done with that, I thought, well, maybe I'd just keep working at Access. And they said, well, Paul, why don't you stick around a little bit? And so I did, and started teaching at Kansas Wesleyan, and I have not looked back since. And it's been 9 years now almost.
So do you have very many non-traditional students?
No, the composition of Kansas Wesleyan is primarily made of student athletes. About 80% of our student body is student athletes. And a lot of people have some strange misconceptions about that. When they hear that, a student athlete, a bunch of jocks at the school, my news desk program that we put together, which is our campus news-oriented program, is staffed and run entirely by softball players. Hannah Holt, which is our interviewer, Lindsay Weaver, which is our anchor, Hannah Bapst, which does the community calendar, and we've got Ashley Moon, who's our floor director. These are all members of Daryl Holting's softball team, and they're kicking butt in softball. But not just that, these girls have been really the highlight of this year for me. They have been some of the most amazing young women to work with. They're talented, they're driven, they show up on time, they do their jobs, and watching them improve has just been fantastic. That's been my experience with almost every single student we have at Kansas Wesleyan. These kids, I walk in like any teacher does, and you look at this classroom of people and you go, oh, good Lord, what am I in for this semester? I set the bar incrementally higher every year. These kids have never failed to disappoint me, and it's just amazing what they've been able to do.
So what does it actually take to put a show together?
Boy, a lot of elbow grease, a lot of running around. We've got a number of people that actually contribute to the show, and I'm rattling off names as I go along, but Amber Benning is a young lady who is a photojournalist for me. She's also a disc jockey that does a show called The Local Sound on our internet radio station. She's a really fantastic reporter. She is not a student athlete. However, she is a debater for Kansas Wesleyan's Debate and Forensics team. Courtney Mason is another talented young lady that does forensics at Kansas Wesleyan. These are all people in the speech communications department. They have to go out, shoot video, write stories, put packages together, and meet deadlines. And then the girls that actually produce News Desk all have to get together once a week and shoot the show. And generally speaking, unless it's my mistake that gets made in the control room, we get the show done in one take. And you just don't run into that very often.
So, and I just kind of heard you, so do you have somebody that you're mentoring to do what you do right now?
No, as a matter of fact. I'm pretty much it at Kansas Wesleyan as far as digital video production in the communications department. That doesn't mean that we're not doing other stuff. My counterpart in the athletic department is a guy named Dave Tully. And Dave Tully is probably one of the hardest working guys at Kansas Wesleyan. He gets athletic information out on the KW Athletic Twitter feed. He streams live coverage of the games that are getting played there. So families at home, they're a country away or just across the country, can actually watch their students play.
So what if you get sick or something?
Oh,
does the show still go on?
Oh, yeah.
Or how does it go on?
The show will go on. One of the girls will actually step up and actually make sure that the show gets shot. I don't do all of the work for these students. You got to understand, these students are the ones that are putting the show together, hosting the show. They know how the technology works, and they've been great students. It's been a real pleasure to teach them, and not just teach them, but work with them. I have a blast every week when we shoot that show.
So somebody else gets to work in the control room. I heard you.
Yeah,
because that's where you work at.
Yeah,
right?
Hannah Bapst, who actually does our calendar show, and Hannah, by the way, is not a communications major. She is a psychology major at Kansas Wesleyan. She does the calendar, and we actually pre-produce that package. She comes into the control room and runs audio for us. I usually do all the technical directing and switching. Another one of my students, Daniel Moss, he's in my Media Production 2 class, can step in and actually run the control board and do the technical directing and switching for the show.
Oh, wow. So does that I heard you saying that internet radio, does that intertwine with your show? And
our YouTube channel, which is where we've been actually putting the news desk programs up on, is called the KKW Radio YouTube channel. We started KKW Radio before we started doing our hardcore news shows on video. And that came when about 2009, my department chair, my boss, Barbara Marshall at Kansas Wesleyan, asked me to look into the possibility of renewing the radio station the campus once had. And at that time, the radio station was called a carrier current radio station. And a carrier current radio station transmits a signal over the power lines of the school. And that gets really problematic when you have things like Ethernet cables and networking in a school. So we couldn't really do that. And I was disappointed because I come from a long background in radio. And I always thought it would be good to have a student radio station. That's where I got my start. So I started looking around, and streaming audio over the internet could be done very affordably. The technology was there for the software to completely automate a station, and I didn't really need much space. So I kind of put this together sneakily. I don't want to say I did it behind the back of my boss, but basically over the course of a summer, I built this radio station in an old supply closet we had in our TV studio. And that's where the studio still remains to this day. I moved all the supplies out, drug a desk in, and people would ask, well, what's Paul up to, dragging all that equipment into the corner? Oh, leave him alone. He's weird like that. And then we fired it up, and lo and behold, we had a 24-hour day, 7-day a week internet radio station.
Wow.
That's now staffed by students, and they do fantastic stuff.
Wow. Do you do a little advertising on it too? Or?
No, we're a non-commercial radio station. We have to do that. It's really weird. And one of the things I'm passionate about is intellectual property. And intellectual property has to do with copyrights and trademarks and things. We can't operate like a regular terrestrial radio station operates. We can't play, for instance, an entire side of an album like a radio station on the air can. That's because the radio lobby got really concerned about streaming internet radio, and they saw it as a competition, and really we are. We do just as good of a job as they do. And so they made it a little bit harder for us to get that job done. So we have some limits about what we can do in terms of the number of artists we can play and the number of songs we can play from a single artist and things like that.
So what about, it's Kansas Wesleyan, so can you broadcast a little bit of the game or a little bit of
We actually have agreements with local radio stations to handle our athletic coverage. And so those games get actually both broadcast and streamed through the partnerships with the local radio stations here in town. So they've been really good partners with Kansas Wesleyan. What we focus on primarily is giving students a place to practice their chops being disc jockeys, working in a control room. And we run the station like it's an FCC radio station. So we pay attention to things like obscenity. We give regular legal station IDs at the top of every hour, even though we're not required to by law. It's a place where students can actually get exposure to working in that industry.
Huh. So do you have students that are actually working in the industry?
Yeah, we do, as a matter of fact. Jen Pooler is a great young lady. She works at a radio station in Abilene right now. She's one of our grads. And she is one of the young women that I'd feel terribly guilty all the time about getting her into this business.
So, Paul, could you hold that
Sure,
thought
sure,
right
you
there?
bet.
And we are coming to the end of our segment here. So
I could talk forever about this.
And I really thank you for all your information and your great input.
It's been a pleasure.
So, I thank you, Paul.
Well, hello. My name is Kieran Boger, and the rock concert is way over head heels.
We'll be back with more news later.
No, we won't. We're still going, lady.
Hi, welcome back to The Scene. I'm Shauna Carter, and I'm here with Paul Green, and we're continuing on with our little interview with him about Kansas Wesleyan University and all the different things he's doing with news radio. So, Paul, you mentioned that you have students that you're having them hone in on their skills.
You bet.
Can you tell me what kinds of things do you work with the students on? How do you prepare them?
Well, like I just did, I took a photo of you, and that's going to be Instagrammed, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
One of the big things that I push on is the convergence of social media with broadcasting. And you can't really separate those things anymore. I'm a huge student of media ecosystems and how different media types relate and interrelate. I was a reporter for 20 years. I was a chief CNN radio correspondent on the West Coast for the Unabomber trial of Ted Kaczynski. And close to the end of that period of time, right around the turn of the century, I always get a tickle when I say that turn of the century because, you know, I don't feel that old. But right around that time was the explosive growth of the World Wide Web in the internet. That changed everything, everything. And people don't realize what an earthquake that has been. Newspapers have been in precipitous decline ever since the web came to the forefront. Radio and television for a long time thought they were going to be completely insulated from that. They're not. Radio and television stations are losing listeners and viewers. Now, the internet isn't the death knell for these media types. Newspapers aren't going to die. Radio's not going to die. Television's not going to die. But they have been fundamentally changed because guess what? This iPhone makes me a radio station. It makes me a television station. It makes me a newspaper. I am a publisher. And so no longer is it the purview of radio, television, or newspapers to be content creators. Everyone can be a content creator. And so I think our students at Kansas Wesleyan get exposure to being content creators on a number of different platforms. They don't just perform well in front of the camera or just sitting in a room with a microphone. They have to think about multiple platforms. They have to think about writing for the internet. They have to think about print because we have a student newspaper. They're on the radio, and of course, we've got video options for them. A well-rounded communications graduate is going to walk out of the Kansas Wesleyan program pretty much ready to enter into a 21st century communications world. And they're going to understand YouTube, they're going to understand Twitter, they're going to understand Facebook, they're going to understand why these things are important. When I can point my students at the demographic information we get from our servers that show exactly how many people are listening, where they're listening, what kind of computer they're using to listen to our radio station, they're pretty impressed. But then when I show them, here's what happens when you tweet that your show is on. Here's what happens when you tell your Facebook friends to listen. They see a spike in the numbers. Then I tell them for a week, don't do that. And nobody listens. So they learn to make that connection very early on that what they do with social media is going to have a direct impact on the other kinds of media that they're creating. How many people are going to watch? How many people are going to listen? Nobody's going to do those things unless you tell them, unless you get your face out there, unless you get your message out. So everybody's going to be a little bit of a newspaper reporter, a TV reporter, and a disc jockey when they finish our program at Kansas Wesleyan. And I think that is a really good thing. That prepares them not just to work at a radio station or a TV station, if they want to do public relations, if they want to work at marketing, heck, if they want to work in any sort of professional skill or association that asks them to do those things. Because we have all seen examples of, well, we'll just get Bob at the office. He has a cell phone and a camera. He can take a good video. Oh, good Lord.
Quality doesn't always come out in that.
And so when you know things like the basic fundamentals of good composition, what the 180-degree rule means, how to cut on action, what an eyeline match is, when you study a little bit of cinema and cinematography and videography and you learn how the equipment works and how to put something together, you're going to make a good-looking project.
What kind of equipment are they working with primarily? Is this pretty high dollar stuff?
Well, actually, when I was speaking earlier, it's surprisingly high quality, but it's not obscenely expensive like it used to be. If we were doing traditional media, we'd be looking at $100,000 pieces of equipment. We've got a switcher from Grass Valley that prices out in the low 6 digits, for instance, that we could have bought for our TV stuff. But we work with a TriCaster, which is pretty much becoming a regular component for streaming video. I actually brought some pictures along with me, some still pictures along with me, and if we could go to those, I'll give you a shot. The first picture is a look inside of our TV studio, and it gives you a look at the green screen technology that we use and the shot of the TriCaster in action, basically. And the sets are completely artificial. On the monitors, you can see the make-believe world that our news desk crew operates in, and in the background there, it's nothing but green screens. So we've got some pretty interesting production equipment to work with. The next photograph is of Hannah actually interviewing Dr. Rebecca Chop, who is a KW alum, and she's currently the president of Swarthmore College. And it's another shot of just the studio itself. Hannah mics up the guests, does pre-interviews, gets them sort of loosened up, ready for the questions she's going to ask. And so that's a really good experience for her to have. The next shot is of Hannah narrating a training video. And this is a shot of Final Cut Pro, the nonlinear editor that we use at Kansas Wesleyan, which is also the stuff you use here at Community Access. After that, we've got shots of some of our Media Production 2 students. This is Heather Clark, who's shooting some video in the hallway of the Brown versus Board of Education Museum in Topeka. We have a civil rights documentary that we're putting together at the university. We had Cheryl Brown Henderson come in and speak. Here's Caitlin Schwartz, who's also shooting in another exhibit room of the museum as well. In the next picture, this is one of my favorites. We just got finished shooting the principal photography for a music video for Ann Zimmerman, who's an attorney and musician here in town. And we shot this at Sunset Elementary School. We worked with Linda Rohr, who's a music teacher there, and a fantastic, wonderful teacher, a great lady to work with, a group of 18 third graders. And when we got this project, they said, well, you're going to be working with 18 third graders. And I went, no, I'm not. Oh, no. They turned out to be fantastic. Linda did a great job, and the kids got along real well. After that shot, the next still image that we've got is of Daniel Moss, Caitlin Schwartz, and Sierra Stahlbaumer, the students that work on the music video in our nonlinear editing bay. And you can see we've got a total of 6 Mac computers that run Final Cut Pro. That's also an audio station over in the corner where we do some of our pre-production work for the radio station. The next photo is going to be actually a look inside of the KKWU studios. This is our internet radio station. It's basically a converted supply closet, as I'd mentioned before. And the students have the ability to do Skype or web-related phone interviews and bring them in live. The next photo is a shot of the actual control board that we use. We use a program called Radiologic DJ, which uses our iTunes library and then streams it out using Nicecast, which is a piece of streaming radio software. The next picture is a look at the old Web Mac. This is one of the original Mac computers that I bought for Kansas Wesleyan way back in the day. And it can't do much heavy lifting anymore, but what it can do is handle internet phone calls. And so I just had one of my students, Christopher McDonald, do a hip hop show with an interview with an underground artist who was live 100 miles away. And so we actually did a live phone-in interview on the show. The next shot is probably one of my favorite shots. This is me, Daniel Moss, Sierra Stahlbaumer, Caitlin Schwartz, and Heather Clark. And this is in the van we use to travel up to Topeka. These kids have a great time, and they learn that this kind of work is not just painstaking when it comes to being accurate. It's something that you need to be passionate about. If you're not passionate about this, you're not going to be good at it because it requires time and sacrifice and hard work. And they learn all about that kind of stuff when they realize, well, I can't just walk into the editing bay and 30 minutes later have this wonderful hour-long show produced. It takes a little more elbow work than that, a little more elbow grease. And I had mentioned this before, I am continually impressed by the dedication of these students. They keep me operating at a pretty high level. I can't get anything past these guys. And believe me, I've tried. They keep me honest, but they also keep me young.
That's awesome. Hold that thought.
You bet.
We'll be right back.
Don't tell me that I cannot speak.
Or that my voice shouldn't be heard.
Don't tell me that whatever I say doesn't matter.
Because the person saying it doesn't fit inside your
Cute little ideal box.
This might be hard for you to believe.
but I do have something to say.
You may not like it,
but guess what?
Too bad.
I don't have these working vocal cords, this breath in my lungs, this beat in my heart. This way of putting words together with my tongue for nothing.
See, my voice gives me life.
Gives me a chance to speak to my family.
To my people.
My neighborhood, to my city, to the world.
And if that means that I only get one chance to share my life,
one Friday out of every month,
then so be it.
My voice gives me strength.
A backbone whenever I feel spineless.
It's reason when I feel mindless. Why, it's a gigantic sledgehammer to all the negativity and the silence.
And if that means that people only get to hear my strength,
one Friday out of every month,
good.
You will feel me. You will hear me.
The calm, the fury,
my opinions, my theories,
my strength, my voice,
my life.
All I need.
All I need.
All I need.
It's one mic.
All right, so we're back here with Paul. This is Jeff with Paul. We've got some video here up here, Paul. You want to?
This is the actual news desk program that we put together at Kansas Wesleyan University, and the opening credits just rolled, and then we're going to go to our lead anchor, which is Lindsay Weaver, and she is in the studio, which doesn't really exist. This is all make-believe. It's green screen technology. It's an artificial set that's built in as part of the TriCaster, actually. It allows us to actually zoom in. It looks so much better than the oldest news set that we had to use. And Lindsay does a fantastic job. She started anchoring just last year, came in brand new, and she and Hannah Holt, her friend, would trade back and forth. Hannah does a better job at interviewing, and Lindsay does a fantastic job of actually anchoring. And so we cut to a news section. You saw Tyler Paulson, Marine Corps vet who did a PTSD demonstration at campus. Not a demonstration, but he had a talk about it. Then we have packages like this, which feature a couple of our students doing a talent show acting, and they did this beach body. You heard me talk about Courtney Mason. She's the young lady over there in the green. This is Hannah Babst. And I have to tell you that if you look at Hannah Babst now and saw one of the original calendars that Hannah Babst actually put together, you wouldn't recognize them. When she first started out, she was just so scared, and she was really stiff. Here we have their interview section of the show, and Alex Pierce is the young lady that's actually being interviewed by Hannah Holt. And Alex is one of the best of KWU. And I can say that in full confidence. She actually is. She's a young lady that is a psychology major that put together a professional paper that actually is going to be published in a book called The Best of KWU. She was honored at a public presentation, along with Tyler Paulson and some other guys. So there you go. It's a collapsed, sort of a version of the last episode of News Desk that we did, and that's what you can actually see when you tune into our YouTube channel. And it's KKWU Radio on YouTube. You can find, I think we've got now almost 2 years of the show archived on the YouTube channel. So you can take a look at what we looked like when we first started out. And I have to thank a couple of graduates, Shelby Hubbard and Brett Geeson. These guys aren't here anymore, and if by the off chance that they do end up seeing this, I have to say thank you guys very much, because they were the real impetus to getting this put together. They were looking for an internship, and they said, well, maybe we can do a news program. And so these two young people came to me and said, let's do some news. And Brett shot all the video, did all the technical directing, and Shelby, all by herself, did all the anchoring. Wow. Those two kids as seniors at Kansas Wesleyan really were the thing that impressed me and said, you know, if we want to continue doing this, I have absolutely no worries or concerns whatsoever, because I know these students are going to meet the challenge.
Wow. Well, you've kind of, over the last couple of minutes here, answered my basic question, but I just want to see if there's something even more specific.
Getting me to shut up is hard.
No. Let's just say I'm a student. I'm a prospective student. Why would I choose Kansas Wesleyan? What is it specific about Kansas Wesleyan and this program that I'm going to get here that I may not get somewhere else? We don't teach traditions at Kansas Wesleyan University when it comes to broadcast media, because I think, first of all, you can find that experience elsewhere. My boss will shoot me for saying that, but that's the truth. What we teach, traditions. What do you mean by traditions? What we teach is, instead of I'm going to be in radio, or I'm going to be in television, or I'm going to be in the movies, we don't do that. We crank out communications generalists, and we do probably one of the best jobs at that you could possibly imagine. We teach them how to shoot video, how to produce audio. We teach them the importance of using social media, and how all of those things relate. If you're studying those things individually, you're not going to get that broad perspective. Right. Because somebody walking in right now, let's say you want to be a newspaper reporter. You're not just going to be a newspaper reporter with a pad of paper and a pen anymore. Believe me, you're not. Right. You're going to shoot video. You're going to maybe make an appearance on a radio station that your company owns to support a story that's going to come out in the next day's newspaper. You're going to have to do all those things. And so when a graduate of our program leaves Kansas Wesleyan, they know how to shoot video. They know how to edit audio. They know how to use the equipment in a wide variety of circumstances,
not just in a TV studio, but out in the field as well. And it's not just, well, that's not a $20,000 camera. I can't shoot anything with it. I've got a phone. I've got you. I'm going to shoot an interview with you. I'm going to put it together. I'm going to package it. I'm going to put it on YouTube, and done. That's what we teach. And I think that is an important skill set. And I think it's critical for these students to have. Because more and more businesses are starting to realize there's this wonderful opportunity that exists with the internet. There's this democratic nature about media production now, whereas you had to be wealthy. You had to own a radio station or a television station or a newspaper to get your point of view out there. Don't have to do that anymore. But what they need are students that are savvy enough about how to use all of this technology. They need to know how to put together a good package that's going to make you look good, instead of a poorly produced package that's going to make you look dumb. Frankly, we've seen lots of examples of that. Now, someone had once asked me, what do you see in the future? What lies on the horizon for the industry? And I will geek out here for a minute, and I am a huge nerd and a huge geek. Werner Venge is a science fiction writer, and he postulated this event called the singularity. And when Venge talked about it, the singularity was the invention of artificial intelligence. And he said whenever that happened, you'd not be able to predict the future past that point. It would be unpredictable. Well, I think an event sort of like that happened when the internet got developed. When I was first starting out in radio, you could have asked me in 1993, Paul, what's radio going to be like in 5 years? And I could have told you in complete confidence what the industry would be like 5 years from now.
Right.
1995, you asked me that question. The only honest answer to that is, I have no idea. Today, you could ask that question. The only honest answer is, my best guess might be, that's all you can do. Because how are you going to be able to accurately describe an entire stream of mediums that are constantly changing? I don't watch TV at home. I don't watch TV. I don't listen to the radio. These are strange things for me to admit. I consume all of my media almost entirely online. I watch a lot of video. I listen to a lot of audio. Mm-hmm. But I don't use the traditional methods of consuming those pieces of media anymore. And there are a growing number of people that do exactly that. You need to be able to reach those audiences. Canadian communications philosopher Marshall McLuhan had something really interesting to say about this stuff. He said, the medium is the message. Everybody's heard that phrase.
Right.
But what does that mean? The way you communicate a message is now equally as important as the message itself you're communicating. How you decide to get that message out is as important as the message itself. Young people, for instance, they're blowing up Twitter and Instagram and other pieces of social media. They don't like Facebook so much anymore. And why is that? Old guys like me are on Facebook.
Old guys like me, too.
Parents are on Facebook. We don't want to be on a social media that's filled with those old people. Mm-hmm. And so they're finding new methods of communicating. And if they're not finding them, they're making them, or they're retasking existing ways to communicate. We've all heard about the prevalence of texting and text speak, and good grief, how you can interpret that is beyond me. It's a separate language. But that's how they're communicating. And if you can communicate on their level, if you can show them that you understand that, send a message to them that way, their respect for you is going to increase. They're going to know that you're taking the time to understand how their lives operate, how they communicate, because this stuff is important to them. This isn't just, oh, it's a cell phone, it's a digital toy, my kid spends too much time. That's become an integral part of how they experience communication today. Right. Denying that is not a smart thing to do.
So very quickly, we've got about a minute left. Very interesting, you said you can't predict in 5 years what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So how do you plan, or what's your focus on? I want to take these students from now and prepare them for 5 years. Here, we've got about a minute left, 30 seconds. How do you do that?
Short and
How do you
sweet.
get them to that?
Short and sweet. I can't stop being a student. I can't stop learning. You can't get awarded a degree and then sit on this throne and think the world is going to stay static around you. You can't. I spend hours each day trying to keep up on the state of the art. I change my lesson plans yearly and sometimes twice a year to reflect changes in the media environment. You have to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening, and you have to keep current. If you don't, you're not doing a service to yourself, but you're also not serving these students that are relying on you to educate them. They need you to be up to date. They need you to be current. So you have to be. So your job just isn't teaching. Your job is learning and educating yourself. And in and of itself, that's an important lesson to pass along to a student. When you walk out of the doors of Kansas Wesleyan, you're not stopping your adventure in education. You're just beginning the next phase of it, because you will never, ever stop being a student. If that's one lesson that I can teach these kids that come into this program, it's the most important lesson I can impart to them. Educating yourself is your responsibility. You have to do it. Take control of it. Learn how to teach yourself. Learn how to be a good educator and learn how to be a good student, because that will pay dividends for the rest of your life.
Very good. Paul, I want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Don't tell me that I cannot speak.
Or that my voice shouldn't be heard.
Don't tell me that whatever I say doesn't matter.
Because the person saying it doesn't fit inside your
Cute little ideal box.
This might be hard for you to believe.
but I do have something to say.
You may not like it,
but guess what?
Too bad.
I don't have these working vocal cords, this breath in my lungs, this beat in my heart. This way of putting words together with my tongue for nothing.
See, my voice gives me life.
Gives me a chance to speak to my family.
To my people.
My neighborhood, to my city, to the world.
And if that means that I only get one chance to share my life,
one Friday out of every month,
then so be it.
My voice gives me strength.
A backbone whenever I feel spineless.
It's reason when I feel mindless. Why, it's a gigantic sledgehammer to all the negativity and the silence.
And if that means that people only get to hear my strength,
one Friday out of every month,
good.
You will feel me. You will hear me.
The calm, the fury,
my opinions, my theories,
my strength, my voice,
my life.
All I need.
All I need.
All I need.
It's one mic.
And we're back, and I gotta tell you, I graduated from Kansas Wesleyan in 1998. They didn't have none of that stuff I was talking about.
Man, you're old, Jeff. I didn't realize you were that old.
Did I just date myself?
You did. You did.
I should have went 19.
Yeah, yeah. That is amazing. It's just amazing all of the things that Paul's been able to do with that program in such a short period of time. Very impressive.
It is.
That's technology.
Isn't it?
You
Yeah.
know, everything's changed. So, they're bringing it at Kansas Wesleyan to the level that the society is today, the technology. I mean, constant, it was from where you had a big old cell phone that was gigantic.
I remember
The
that.
brick phones, the one
I'd
that
have
had
a
Johnny
separate
Cochran
bag for
cancer. They had a big bag
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
They're filming you and creating a commercial with a very small phone, so
Absolutely.
technology.
And what he said about why kids don't want to be on Facebook anymore because it's too inundated with people our age.
Exactly.
Yeah, they had to move on to something else. So I totally agree with him on the continuing education because I feel like I have to continue to update myself on all of this technology so that when I'm around kids that are so much younger than me, young adults and kids, that I have something to communicate with them about and talk to them about and relate to them on that level. So yeah, it's a constant, I think it's a constant learning how to adapt to this new technology that people our age have as well.
Well, what he was saying about kids is correct. My kids don't, I mean, just like today, my son, after school, he doesn't go and watch the television. He's on the internet or he's
Sure.
watching Netflix. I mean, that's where he gets his news from. I mean, that's the news cycle. I mean, we kind of know a little bit. Our news cycle was you pick up the newspaper and, you know, this is 24 hours late. You know,
Right,
with
right.
the internet now, I mean, immediately, whatever's happening in the world, well, the situation that was happening there in Ukraine, we were watching that literally as it was happening. You're always on camera. There's always a cell phone. So,
Yeah,
is that scary? You're always on camera.
Well, you know, that's another show.
Sure, I want to always be
That's
on
another
camera.
show, actually, about that, surveillance cameras, because every time I walk through a big parking lot, I'm looking to see where they all are. But, you know, yeah, you're always on camera. You always got to be on, Jeff.
And so our next show is going to be?
You're always on camera.
You're always on camera.
You're always on
Spring
camera.
extravaganza, we're always
Spring
on camera.
extravaganza, you're always on camera. Don't pick your nose.
That's it. That's it.
Or don't get caught.
Don't get caught.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad I got to sit between you two gentlemen today, and I'm the only one who brought my hair today. Paul was without his as well, so maybe next time.
I'll bring a wig.
All right, sounds good, Jeff.
Thank you all for watching. It's The Scene.